All right, now we are getting into the heart of the show, Comic Fam. This is a fun one. We're talking about buyer's regret, okay? And I didn't realize that buyer's regret is kind of like a dual definition. The first is you bought something and you regret that you bought it. And I think that's more tied to FOMO than anything else. But really, what we were chatting about in anticipation for this podcast today, podcast number 40, is when you should have bought something and you didn't, and you regret that you didn't buy it. And we've reached out to the community. We all have these stories. Dude, back in the day, Emerald City Comic Con, I still remember the con. I told myself, I want to get a New Mutants 98. First appearance of Deadpool. And I'm going to hunt for some. I would leave that convention with 4 New Mutants 98s, okay? On that con floor, I searched, and we're talking about like a decade ago, okay? I searched every dealer box, every wall. I asked every single person. I said no to upwards of 15 copies of New Mutants 98. And I walked out with like 4 or 5. And I was like convincing myself back then that these VF near mint copies, like they were pretty nice, man. They were high grade. That I overspent, having spent $30 on one of them, 25 on the other. Like I was like, you know what, maybe go up one day, but I really feel like I should have gotten them for like $20. Because back then, this was a common book. This was not a book that sells for what it sells for now. And I think about that back then I spent any time, pinching pennies. I was younger, it's like you want to be conservative. You spend a lot at a convention, you pay to get in. But I think about those 15 other copies that were $30, $35, $25. And then I put them back and I was like, I don't need that. I can get that. I can get that anytime. But I didn't. And I had 4. And yeah, I would go on to sell those 4 copies or grade them. Like one would be like a 9.6, one would be a 9.4, one would be a 9.8, cool for me. But man, that example has happened so many times in my life where it's like back then I'm thinking I can get that book anytime and I'm going to be picky and I'm not going to overbuy. But man, now I wish I did. I wish I grabbed those books. I wish I grabbed them all. We all have these feelings. Buyer's regret.
Yeah, I mean, I have the regret of not picking up, like I mentioned earlier in the show, my Secret Wars 8. Okay, it was a 10.0.
It's crazy, man.
$100 dealer had it. He had a bunch of copies. He had one 10.0. And at
First
that
appearance
time,
of the black suit.
Yeah, at that time, it was fairly new to see that. I mean, it just wasn't, like it wasn't a no-brainer like it used to be, but I probably should have picked it. I had it in my hand, man, but I was out there looking for older books. I was like, I got a budget. I'm putting this back, whatever. Poppycock, there's new stuff, whatever, right? So I think back on that a lot.
Do you have any other ones that kind of come to mind that you're like, man, I should have bought that, man. Why didn't I buy it? There's been like over 3 Hulk 181s that obviously now I'm kicking myself for not buying. Fortunately for you, every Hulk 181 you come across, you freaking buy. What's your most recent count?
I mean, I've let stuff go, man, early on, and then I just stopped. It's like, why do I let it go? Because I can't ever
we got to bring your Hulk 181s to the mic.
One of these days.
We're gonna do a massive grading, and we're gonna do a huge grade reveal. Can you at least tell me what it's above? How many copies do you have minimum right now?
I think I have 23.
23 Hulk 181s. All right, so give me an example of another one. What's another, like, you could have bought it? Is there a Golden Age book in your list? Like, there's got to be something that...
I feel like I should have bought a Cap 1 a long time ago.
Oh, my gosh.
I should have. Like, there
Dude,
was a
that's like
lull.
Your book, man. That's one that you've
just
told me forever that you've been wanting.
There was a Cap 1 that I looked at in private collection, and the guy, the centerfold was married. So I passed on it.
Oh, so you're like, it's not right.
I shouldn't have passed on it. I should have just, I mean, I had it. I flew down to look at this collection. I bought a bunch of books from him, but he had a Cap 1. And by the end, it was like,
dude, if you would have gotten that Cap 1, you could have traded that for a Daredevil 1.
Yes.
Really nice Daredevil. I'm just kidding. We love you, man. You know who you are. Okay, so we have the community that shared some stories that are painful. And you know what's something, it's kind of silly is like when we were going through this, we're like, we're going to just like talk about people's pain today. Because that's what it is. It's a feeling of like it's a loss that you didn't really lose because you were never part of the transaction because you never decided to start the transaction. But in your head, it feels like you did. It feels like you owned it and then like let it go. And some of these examples that we have in the community are pretty damn harsh. So here's somebody who responded on Instagram. This is from Sean Us Tunnel. He said he should have gotten into collecting Golden Age way sooner. And man, I can relate so much to this gentleman. I got into gold way later, and I felt like even by that time that I was into gold, I was still not as aggressive in purchasing and learning and collecting and just getting my confidence up with all that's involved. And now you look at the market and it's like, man, unless you're going for very specific genres, you got to be patient. What do you tell a person who is feeling like they missed out on gold?
I wish I could say, you get a do-over here, buddy, but you don't.
You don't.
I just say there's still openings in gold. There's still plenty of openings in gold. Silver Age is crazy expensive. So I think Golden Age is just still there, ripe for the picking at this point. But yeah, obviously.
Broaden your scope. The genre doesn't have to be pre-code horror.
It's true. I don't go to any convention with any premise of what I'm going to buy. Like, I have to buy this book. I just know enough of the comic eras from Golden Age to modern-ish that whatever I find, I'm going to like, and I'm just open to it.
Get into romance, dude. I feel like that's so underrated.
Yeah, I mean, romance to an extent, for sure. I mean, there you really are. Outside of Matt Baker, there's a lot of great romance books still out there. Crime, a lot of great crime.
All right, here's another fun one here. This is from Archangel0891, and I'm just going to apologize in advance to all the members who are listening to this who were reading their comments, because not only did you provide us the information we needed to figure out what you missed out on, you also gave us an opportunity to price the comics that you missed out on in today's market. So we're going to be going over what these misses actually mean right now with accurate pricing as of June of this year. So Angel, this is his story. I walked into Forbidden Planet years ago, and was browsing through new books. He picked up a zombie book. Thing was, it was in black and white. So he didn't really, he thought meh is the quote. He put them back. There were 3 or 4 of them. Walking Dead #1. Cover price.
I would have done the same thing. I would look at the black and white.
A lot of people would have.
Meh.
A lot of people did. And Walking Dead #1, we'll assume that it was off the wall. People, were they were touching them. They were moving them. Probably wasn't a 9.8. Okay. So let's just take a look at what Walking Dead 1 at 9.2 goes for right now.
The last 9.2 sale was in May. All right. And it was $1,133.
So considering that you could have bought 4 of them, depending on what the store would let you buy, yeah, I would say that's a near, $4,500 mistake that you made there. Not a mistake, because you wouldn't know. You don't know these things. These aren't mistakes. Let's be clear.
In sports terms, it's a swing and a miss.
A swing and a miss. There you go. The effort was there.
It was. You thought about it. You looked at it, and they didn't sell the book to you, which is fine, because I would have done the same thing. I would have put this zombie black and white book right the hell back.
Okay, this next one is pretty fun here. Alan Russin. He said he walked into an LCS in Mississippi after having convinced his mom in advance for some allowance to buy a comic book. Right? You've been there. All right. He chose a $30 Elf Lord #1. Hey, it was hot back then. So we priced a Elf Lord, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, we priced an Elf Lord.
How much is that Elf Lord 1 going for? Do you recall?
Lord
Wasn't
1,
it like
depending on which print it was, but a 9.8 was like $40.
$40. So the book is worth pretty much less than what you paid for it, because you had to pay to get it graded to sell it at that $40 marker. Okay. That's a bummer. But here's where it gets really, really tough. He chose that over what he believes to have been a first print TMNT #1 for $50 back then. Ouch. So here's the thing. We're going to give you the benefit of the doubt that back then you could have been mistaken. There's a handful of printings of TMNT 1. So let's start at the lowest. Okay, we're going to go with the 4th print. It could have been a 4th print. All right. It may not be as bad as you think. Okay. And obviously, we're not going to quote you 9.8 prices because what are the odds, right? So let's just quote them 9.2. Let's keep that going. A fourth print of TMNT #1 at a 9.2 goes for roughly $250 as of May.
Not so bad.
Not so bad. Okay, it's not that bad. Third print, however, for a 9.2 back in March has gone for $1,300. That one hurts a bit.
A little bit more painful, yeah.
Then we have the second print. Second print right now, as of May, is selling for 16 to like upwards of $2,000 for a 9.2, 9.4 right now.
9.2 at least, yeah, probably.
All right. And then the first print, hit him with the 9.2 back in April that sold. I hope it wasn't a first print, my brother.
Yeah, but just brace yourself, okay? Get ready.
Get ready.
It's a cup check right here.
All right, Alan. This is what you missed out on. For Elf Lord. You got Elf Lord, dude.
In April, we saw a 9.2 sell for $32,400.
Oh, I feel it. I feel it. But you know what, Alan? You're going to feel a little bit better here in a second because we have Just Mingled. He's sharing his story from 2011. Okay. What? What happened in 2011?
Could it be worse?
Could it be a UFO? Oh, maybe. Hold on. In 2011, Just Mingled said he put 50. He remembers doing this, putting 50. Yes, 50 Ultimate Fallout 4s in his basket when he was on eBay. He put them in his basket, and they were at a price that was essentially shelf price. The total was 350 euros. Does it even matter with 50 copies what that math is? I mean, we're talking like $3.50, you know, plus or minus a couple bucks back then. For the exchange rate, right? It's like close to double. It could be.
Yeah, it's probably about, what is that? Let's just say $8 or 50 cents a book
for Ultimate Fallout 4. He put them all in his cart and then thought this. This is the quote. Nah, no one's going to want one of those. And he left the cart. If only he had bought and held on to them long term like he initially planned. So, what's a 9.2 for Ultimate Fallout 4 going for, Jeff?
9.2. $750 as of this month.
Yeah, you know what? We're actually, we weren't far off telling Alan from our last commentary that if that was a first print, that this next comment is going to make you feel better, because if you do that math, we're talking upwards of $37,000 in value if those were a 9.2, and we are assuming all of the 50 comics were a 9.2. There's going to be some gems in there. There's going to be books that you could have pressed. I call that definitely one that I would be difficult to erase from the noggin. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's some regret there.
Some buyer's regret. Okay, and we're chatting buyer's regret. We're going to be talking seller's regret in a couple weeks. So Comic Fam, I want to hear your comments in the comments section about seller's regret. Specifically, you sold it, you're upset that you did, you wish you didn't. Be very clear about it. All right, the next one on this list, this one's from Brian Nichols. He said he passed on a Marvel Premiere 15, the first appearance of Iron Fist, for $20. Still kicking himself for not buying it. But here's the thing. I don't think that, I mean, it's a bummer. It's a big key book. I wouldn't forget that either, because that's a really good price. Could have been a really low grade copy. But Marvel Premiere 15, you were just talking about on the last show as a great book to buy in now. It's super affordable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming Iron Fist is going to make some type of comeback.
Eventually.
You would think, especially if you're going to bring in Luke Cage at some point. You know, they do have a long relationship, so it'd be nice to see Iron Fist. We'll see if the universe can take an Iron Fist and a Shang-Chi, but who the heck knows?
I think they can, man. I
yeah.
think they can. I believe in it.
So a good copy is about $100, give or take. But a VF Plus is around $500. So not exactly sure what the grade was, but let's just assume he's kicking himself because it was a nice copy for $20.
That's not too bad, man. Don't feel too bad. Don't feel... I mean, it's definitely one that you're going to have trouble forgetting, but you can actually still secure one for not much more than what you missed it out for. Yeah. You know, fork up an extra $80 and get yourself a presentable copy. You know, you can get one with a really nice cover. Okay. This next person, AMOIIX. This is a very interesting collection miss that this gentleman had. In 2006, we're going back in time a bit here. He was eyeing a lot on eBay that he could have gotten, but he passed on. The lot consisted of a CGC 5.0 Amazing Fantasy 15 and CGC lot of ASM 1 through 10, all the issues graded between 6.0 and 7.0. But he would have to have sold a lot of things quick. We've been there. You're like, oh, I gotta figure this out. I gotta get this money quick. What comics can you move? And he thought about that process, and it deterred him from doing it. This collection would sell for $20,000. So let's see what these prices go for now. And let's just be conservative about it because he said the spread was 6.0 to 7.0. So let's just pull 6.0 prices for these comics. Issue number 10 of Amazing Spider-Man, we have a $700 book at a 6.0.
Issue number 9, first appearance of Electro. It's a key book.
Awesome book.
Yeah. So right now, 6.0, $2,500. And that sounds kind of conservative.
Right. We have a number 8, $900.
Number 7, Second Vulture. Okay, not the most in-demand book, but a 6.0 still around $850.
All right. Number 6, $2,600. We have the first appearance of the Lizard. Tough cover. That gray, you mentioned it just last podcast, makes it a tough book to secure in a high grade. And
Number 5,
Early
Doom cover, okay? $2K for 6.0.
Issue number 4. All right, we get into the Sandman goodness. This is where it gets hot, man. I love this book. $2,900 for a 6.0.
Yep.
First appearance of Sandman.
And number 3, first appearance of Doc Ock. Yep. Major Spidey Grail. That's right. 6.0, around $6,600.
Then we have, at number 2, one of my favorite key books in this run, first appearance of the Vulture. Surprisingly, like, very wanted key Amazing Spider-Man issue. Like, compared to all the rest, this one is like definitely one that is on collectors' like top lists. For a 6.0 going for $4,500.
Yeah, that too's been heating up a lot. And at number 1, and it's been tough to really get a number on this because these books are moving so fast, but you can expect for a 6.0 to pay almost $30K.
Right. All right, but then the AF-15 6.0. You've been telling so many of your friends in the dealer circle for like 2 years, get your AF-15 now. This is low. This is the time to get it. And then this year happened, 2021, shot up like I've never seen before. And we have a price for a 5.0.
For a 5.0, which is like, to even say this number feels insane.
When you said it, when we were looking through GPA, you're like, is that right? Like you questioned it for a second. You're like, damn, really? Like you were kind of surprised.
Yeah, I know it's been a really strong book, but I'm speculating that it's going to be around a $60,000 book.
Oh my goodness, Comic Fam. So do we even need to do the addition for that? I mean, it could have been 20K.
It's a lot of Ks
just
there,
in one book is about 40. So yeah, we're definitely talking about a near $100,000 miss. But you know what? At that time, these books were not going for that much, so it was such a risk. And $20,000 for comics that we're not selling, that doesn't feel comfortable. These books actually had some lulls in that time frame. So you have to stick with it, really map out the trajectory of the collectible. If you have that confidence, sometimes you just got to throw down and get it. And this is a member who's really wishing they did. All right, last comment. We're talking about some FF. We're talking about some Fantastic Four keys that were literally dead. This is actually what the Comic Fam member has claimed this time to be, because these books were not selling the way they are now just a decade ago. He says that he has a run of FF and that he had a shot at FF1 back in the day. He just had a kid. There was no way he can pull the trigger on it. And there was a 2.0 for $1,200. And this was around the time that, as quoted, the Fantastic Four run was dead. Much of my run came from that time. He got a FF48 first Silver Surfer in a 6.5 for $190. Now, this member actually goes out of his way to say that he does something fun. He writes what he bought the books for originally on the back of the board so that in the future he can always reference it and see, how he did, especially if these books had an uptick. So FF1, he feels the pain. We feel the pain for you. You are actively hunting for FF1 right now. You've told me every time I've seen you, you're like, I think I'm going to pull a trigger. I think I'm going to pull a trigger. What's going on with that? And let's hit them with the price of a 2.0.
Yeah, so I haven't pulled any trigger. It's not going to happen. I just had some other thing pop up, so I think that's taken away from it. But, I mean, FF1 2.0, you're looking at around a $15,000 book right now.
Yep.
But I think that book slowed down a little bit right now. I think it's a little bit slow. FF's a long time away.
We got some time, man. There's going to be people who are impatient.
It's been hot for a long time now. Well, maybe not a long time, but it got really hot for like in huge chunks of lump sum. I think it's kind of plateaued for a short bit. Now, how long will that mean? I have no idea. But I don't think you need to overpay at the moment. I think in the next month or two, it might be okay to just take your time and find the right copy for yourself.